Alright guys, we're taking a look at the two ace players according to the WTL, Cure and Serral. Now it's time to get into our first match. ABYDOS send out Nightmare first. Little bit surprising because our first map is Neo-Humanity. I don't want to say that we were worried, but for instance Reynor, as you guys know, has a little bit of PTSD of playing Terrans on Neo-Humanity. What is Serral's rating, by the way? 92? Wow. The GOAT gets cheesed in his EVZ and they lower his score by a whole bunch. Tough crowd. The WTL ratings. Always rough. Will Reynor get a higher or lower rating than 92? I actually believe that Reynor is going to get higher. Reynor will probably get 96, 97, I think. Hopefully we get to see that. Poor Yona goes 23-1, wins every single tournament for 3 months straight, loses one best of 5. I like 92. Reynor was already in the 90s after he won Home Story Cup, and that was before Gamers 8, so Reynor is gonna get a proper high score. The way that these playoffs works, guys, is that the format is a tiny bit confusing. Basically, we have the option to go for an insta revive. We also have an option for an ace player down the line, but you cannot use an ace and an insta revive on the same guy. Obviously, that works out well for us, right? Because we've got 3 amazing players, but 2 absolute world-class gold players. So, it should be alright. The first team that loses 4 players is out. So, it could honestly be over already after like... I don't know. I don't know how many maps. It's a bit confusing. We'll just talk you guys through it as it goes. But basically, if it's a 2-0, a 2-0, and a 2-0, then they have one more option. And if they then lose the first map, I think it's already GG. And if it goes 1-1, then obviously you lose a player as well. Only if you win 2-0, you stay on.
ABYDOS versus BASILISK Game 1. 就让比赛开始吧。
Let me know how the volume is, by the way, guys. Obviously, it's been a while since we did this. Seems that we are good to go for the final day of the WTL Code S playoffs this summer season. Our opening season. Top left side, representing ABYDOS. The team has had a great run through these playoffs so far. This is Nightmare. And in the bottom right side, we are looking at the main base of the man who got lowered to 92. After losing a couple ZVZs, basically undefeated throughout the entire season. It's BASILISK Serral. Woo! Prediction already ran out, by the way, guys. I had no idea how long I had to make that prediction, but we will make predictions throughout the day. Don't you guys worry. Sunday, playoffs. I had a long weekend. I spent the entire night traveling home from Sweden to the Netherlands, so... In case you guys are wondering, Roddy, you look a bit off, you look a bit sleepy. Well, I was laying on an airport floor like 5 hours ago, waiting for the opportunity to check in and then just go to the gate as quickly as possible. But I feel excited. I feel somewhat energetic, even though I can feel that my body is tired. But we had a great weekend so far. Hopefully we can close it out with that one victory we've been dreaming of since the very beginning. My hint towards you guys before the announcement of Serral joining BASILISK was that Roddy is going to become a champion. Will today be that day that Roddy finally becomes a champion in StarCraft 2 after 13 years? Woohoo! Yeah, Ben got married yesterday with Alice. Well, it was a long day. It was fun. A beautiful wedding in the forest in the middle of nowhere in Sweden. I was kind of worried that I was never going to be able to make it back to the airport, but in the end it worked out. We found a lovely Uber driver who managed to drive us to the airport at like 1:30 a.m. Which is not a guarantee. Where Ben lives, the night before we couldn't get an Uber or a taxi for an hour straight. So I was like, I'm going to go to the airport very early because obviously I did not want to miss today. So far, very standard openings here on Neo-Humanity. Serral just making... drones, mostly. Couple safety zerglings. Nightmare opening things up with the Twilight Council. Don't want to say that that's crazy, but obviously we're a little more familiar with Stargates and Oracles in this day and age than the straight up Twilight. Probably gonna go for a whole bunch of adepts with resonating glaives. And what is this probe up to? Why do we have a probe at the bottom side of Neo-Humanity, guys? Uh-oh. Ooh, ooh. So, he's gonna build a pylon and a gateway there. Is there a world where he takes the assimilator as well and he starts mining out the gold? That would honestly be kind of insane. Like, it's pretty important, guys, for Serral to pick up on this as quickly as possible, because Nightmare is gonna get a lot of gateways with Resonating Glaive adapts. He's gonna take the gas, I think. Okay, this is... Yep. Okay, this is a cool build. Alright. This also obviously goes to show that nothing is guaranteed today, but Yona wouldn't be Yona if he's not all over it immediately. And you can see the reaction on Nightmare's camera immediately. He's not happy with that. This really could have been a very cool build. But the great Yona Sotala, his spidey senses were tingling, gets on top of it immediately, and Nightmare will just abandon the plan altogether. I don't hate that he tried, Reynor. Especially not now after Yona scouted it. Nightmare's gonna try to get another pylon and perhaps a gateway up now in the center of the map. He's also thinking of a Dark Shrine. Is this a Desperation Dark Shrine, or was it part of the build all along? There's a good chance it was part of the build, right? Create a bit of chaos with the depths, mine out the gold minerals. It's a really cool plan. Just against Yona, we need a little more than that. People have been doing this since 2018 versus him. 2018 was the year of Zest, no? Why the gas? So, Flash, what Nightmare could have done there, if Serral does not scout it, he can basically send the probe to mine the gold minerals, and then he sends it in the gas, and then the minerals turn into gas, and then you can go back to the minerals. So with one probe, you could mine out the entire path there, which is very cute. It was a great idea. It's just that Serral scouted it at a perfect moment. And at that point, Nightmare was forced to abandon the plan altogether. Serral's gonna get a safety spore as well. We've got a spine going up in the third, couple of roaches on the way. Obviously, adapts is something we always need to respect. That's not really a shade that Nightmare can let finish up, though. So far, so good. Nightmare is going to drop a third Nexus on his side of the map. Serral's going to send a couple of links towards the top. I hope for Nightmare that he's got a unit in the wall. First two DTs, by the way, got warped in. That Stalker is going to get picked off, I think, quite easily. The Adepts are a little bit late to save it. Serral doesn't just want to get the Stalker. He was thinking of getting a cancel on the Nexus too. That's not working out, though. And that Adept is well positioned. So we'll just take the game from here. I wonder where those DTs are at, because we saw DTs being warped in. Is Basilisk ghosting? What does that even mean, Vortex? Are you suggesting that we are cheating with a 3-minute delay? That's impressive. Yona surrounds the first DT, picks it up immediately. The second one is... obviously, we cannot really detect it. Serral moved the Sport Crawler over. At the same time, the Adepts are here, though. That DT in the top right side is actually not revealed right now. Let's see Adept Shade finish up. But the circling block is honestly picture perfect. So far, game one, guys, it really is going about as good as anything could have gone. Now we do need to get on top of these Adepts. Serral will take care of these Adepts. 6 drones in the end. That may seem like a somewhat high number, but that was for 2 DTs and a whole bunch of Adepts with Resonating Glaive. And Serral is already on 64 workers, guys. 64. He's asking if we are stream cheating. Yeah, that's... I mean, he got us, guys. What can I say? He got us. Even though Serral is 3 minutes into the future for us, but he got us. This is what we do. We all know that that's exactly the kind of guy that Serral is as well. And the entire Basilisk work. Don't be stupid, Mr. Vortex. You have one more opportunity to be less stupid, otherwise your journey ends here. We have a whole bunch of Stalkers in the center of the map getting a cancel on Yona's Expand. That's obviously somewhat nice for Nightmare, who's doing a good job here. A bit of multi-prong aggression. Stalkers on the left, Stalkers in the center. It's a lot of Overlords there. That's obviously something that Serral needs to deal with. Until Roach Speed kicks in, it is going to be a little bit tricky. I think Serral watches Divinesia a whole lot more than he watches me. He even said it. He likes to support the Finnish scene. He prefers the Finnish commentary over English commentary. I am not delayed, but obviously the game that we are watching right now is delayed. This game is 2-3 minutes into the future. Serral is just buying some time, guys, to make sure that roach speed kick in here on the opening map of ABYDOS versus Basilisk. Nightmare has a lot of stalkers, but these are not well upgraded stalkers, and there isn't really a whole lot else to the army. Kind of feels that Nightmare is just doubling down, trying to get the job done with stalkers only. He's actually missing a couple of blinks there, if you ask me. Stalkers are very pricey units. They're a whole lot more expensive than roaches. I don't know why Serral just decided to kill his own crit tumor there. That was a minor mistake, but it's okay. We have a few more crit tumors towards the center of the map. So far, so good, as another corrosive bow is going to connect with a few of the stalkers in the back. Nightmare has even warped in a zealot. It's a slow zealot. I don't think he has charge, unless I missed it. Look at that slow zealot, guys. It's here! It's gone. Serral sitting quite pretty on 66 workers. Obviously didn't get a hatchery up on the right side. We do have a few adepts sneaking into the middle line of the third. But Nightmare needs a whole lot more because he's not transitioning. We don't have a second robo. We don't have any robos to begin with. We don't have a forge. We don't have sexy upgrades. He's not going up to 4 bases. Nightmare simply needs a whole lot more than he's getting done so far. He's doing alrighty, but he needs more than alright. The slow zealots honestly feel a little bit desperate to me. They're not making the difference here. They're just getting picked off one by one. Serral's feeling confident as he even has bailing speed finishing up. He has +2 melee on the production tab. We are battling. The Stalker's doing alright. A few of the roaches and ravages are falling. Serral is running a little low on units at this point. Nightmare goes for the forward blink, but right at this moment a bunch of Zerglings just popped. And these links, yeah, the Zealots, they showed up once more a little bit too late. That got a little bit close for like 0.1 second. But I think Nightmare got carried away there with the forward blink. Serral's got 13 roaches on the production tab. And by the time that those roaches come out, I believe that he has weathered the storm that is Nightmare, who clearly had a very cheeky build planned. But Serral was all over it from the beginning. Nightmare shaking his head, he knows it. Game 1 is not going to go in his favor. Yona is looking pretty unfazed. I hope he didn't see that they rated him at 92. Because if that's the case, guys, he may just all kill all ABYDOS. Maybe even on-site. Nightmare's going to try one more time with 2 final desperation adapts, but I do think we are looking at the closing moments of this first game. Even though I see a gas on the production tab, I'm a little bit confused about the gas. It's 12 army supply against 75 at this point. A few of stalkers that were left over are super low. Nightmare is wondering if he should leave or not. One moment, you can feel that he wants to leave, but then he's like, it's the WTL Codes playoffs. I'm not just playing for myself, playing for my teammates too. So it seems like he wants to try one more time, but it's not really going anywhere, right? No robos, no Templar archives, no forge. Which maps were banned? They banned Neo-Humanity and we banned the Grass one. So they banned Neo-Humanity, but obviously if Neo-Humanity is the starting map, you always have to play on it. So, those were the map vetoes. What do you mean they banned Neo-Humanity? Well, they did. I think otherwise you would still be able to pick it later on. There is a map order, but I think when it comes to like the loser pick, you can still pick different maps. It's all a little bit confusing, but we'll see what game 2 is. And then we'll be able to figure it out. I didn't even know that we were going to have a veto. Well, we did. Serral said, I think we should veto Grass 1. Reynor said, that's a great plan. So we vetoed it. This should be it, guys. Obviously, we have a whole bunch of banelings with +2 melee. They're going to settle for the battery first. We're going to get 17 probes. And these Stalkers of Nightmare simply don't stand a chance. He knows it. GG gets called. Jonas Utala. That's one. We take the 1-0 lead. Long way to go. Long way to go. But it's nice to get off to a good start. Because this honestly could have been a little bit dangerous. If Serral wouldn't have found that pylon in the gateway, Nightmare would have been able to mine out those gold minerals. Obviously, that's a whole lot of if, buts, and maybes against our goat. But good start for us. That's what we love to see. Nice to take the edge off. Yeah, the Stalker pressure got a tiny bit close at one point. Where it's like, the supplies got a whole lot closer than they were for a very long time. And Serral was still investing in some upgrades, right? Like bailing speed, +2 melee, and all of a sudden we were a bit low on the queens, we were a bit low on the roach count. I think that forward blink really helped Yona. Because right on that moment, a whole bunch of links popped. And there were a few slow zealots in the mix. And obviously those slow zealots were there to deal with zerglings. In case Serral would suddenly only go links and would forget about roaches and ravagers. But right when he made that forward blink, we had a bunch of links showing up. I think at that point they only had +1 melee. But +1 melee zerglings against stalkers that have blink on cooldown. Pretty good, guys. Pretty good. So I'll show you guys very quickly. Wait, what is happening here? Alright, game 2 is Ancient. I just want to take a quick look if that was part of the original order or not. Game 2 will be played on Ancient Sistren. And yeah, okay. So what the veto does, for instance, guys, is like the second series is going to kick things off on a Grasvan. But like Nightmare could not have picked Grasvan right now if he wanted to. And later on, if we, for instance, lose on Grasvan, we cannot pick Neo-Humanity. That's what the vetoes do. I do not mind him picking Ancient, though. I'll never forget when this map got introduced, that our man who's spawning in the top right side for Basilisk could take the 1-0 lead, Yona Sotala. He said, I like the green map. With the green map, he meant Ancient. Was mostly talking about ZVT, but I think he likes it in all 3 matchups. Once Serral says he likes the map, he probably likes it in all 3 matchups. So I think this is pretty good for us. Bottom left side, obviously, guys, representing ABYDOS, the team that has had a great run through these playoffs so far. The playoffs started on Friday. They had 2 matches on Friday, 2 matches on Saturday. Today we have the final 2 games. It is a Nightmare, who would obviously do his team a massive favor if he could tie things up. But that's not what we are going for, guys. I'd be completely fine with Yona just starting off here with a 2-0. And we'll take it from there. A Neo Maple would be nice. I do believe it's on the horizon, Blood Milan. I don't know when. I don't know what. But I have heard some whispers. I went to the local supermarket in Zuidland. I heard them talk about an update. So soon TM. Apparently you can still pick the map you vetoed. Yeah, no, that's correct. Nizai, that is correct. I thought I said that, but yeah, obviously, if we veto them picking Grasvan, if we really want Grasvan, we can still do that. Wasn't there a TLMC? Yes, there was. A little while ago. And maybe we'll get another one. And another one. And another one. You want them to change out like 3 maps every quarter? I would like them to change out 7 maps every quarter. I'd be completely okay with that. Unfortunately, we are not in charge. Nightmare here in game 2, guys, is going to go for the 1-gate fast expand Stargate. I hope you guys know that if any of you guys have any questions about the strategies that the players are going for or what is considered to be the standard, feel free to ask me. I'll gladly answer all of them. One adapt may not seem that terrifying, but if you don't respect it at all, it can actually pick up a drone kill rather easily. And what often starts off with a single adapt being a bit of a nuisance, that can linger on for a little while, and then all of a sudden the Oracle shows up, and we can go from 0 to 4 or 5 dead drones real quick. But obviously Serral knows early game ZVP incredibly well. The one thing he seemed to struggle with a little bit at Game is 8 was a lot of the double adept YOLO stuff in the very beginning of the game. When the Protoss players would just crank out 2 adepts early on, run to the other side of the map, shade in, and pick off a bunch of drones. Does Serral feel good today, or what is the reason to start him directly? Well, our opening match was going to be on Neo-Humanity. As I said earlier, I think we all know that Reynor, Neo-Humanity, tiny bit of a PTSD thing going on. It's very early for a trigger, so to make trigger start at like 6 or 7 a.m. is obviously not ideal. So it kind of just came down to Yona. At first Yona was like, I'll guess I'll start. And I was like, hey, hold on a minute. I want you to be happy, Yona. You only start if you really want to start. We can go over this as a team, we can figure it out. And then Yona just said 2 days ago, or actually yesterday, he's like, the more I think about it, the more I like me starting. I was like, alright, if you're down, the captain approves. And we started off with Serral. Should have sent Roddy first. Roddy was traveling for 8 hours from Sweden to the Netherlands this night, mate. So I'm okay with just watching some games today, hang out with you guys, cheering for my boys. I'm not in the mood to play any StarCraft. And obviously, even if I was in perfectly fine condition, this is not the moment where we're gonna have fun with Roddy playing. Trigger, Reynor, and Serral are a whole lot better than your old man. And we'll go with the Acer lineup each and every single time. The two Oracles activate Pulsar Beam and use a whole bunch of energy on this hatchery. They're obviously not going to get it. I mean, Nightmare is really on some copy, and if he thinks he can get it, Oracle number 3 shows up. But that's a little bit too late. The Queens were there. It's just honestly a pretty picture-perfect start so far for Yona. Unless I missed something. By the way, guys, let me know how good the volume is of the stream compared to my voice. I can obviously increase it. You guys just let me know. I think it should be kind of good, but if you guys prefer some more stream volume, just holla at me. Alright. If you guys are happy, I'm happy. I'm loving this start for our man. We all know that Protoss vs Zerg is a lot about the Protoss just being a proper nuisance. Darting back and forth, in and out of range, trying to find a few drones. So far, Serral is pretty bulletproof. Has a few links waiting for Nightmare to potentially go up to 4 bases. This time around, Nightmare is kind of transitioning, right? We do have a Forge, +1 is about to finish up, so it's a very different game than the previous one. But I don't hate it. Serral is still maintaining a little worker advantage. Pretty early infestation pit there. I hope that we do start making some units right now. We do need to respect these Stalkers, because it's not just Stalkers, and it's not just 2 Oracles, it's 4 Oracles in the end. And a combination of a bunch of Blink Stalkers on the edge of creep and 4 Oracles with energy. That could be scary. Serral's doing a very good job in making sure that Nightmare does not go up to 4 bases. Now we just need to make sure that we do a good job against the army. That's a big old stasis trap, but in a weird way that stasis trap also keeps us safe. Wouldn't hate one more creep tumor there. So we're playing basically with links only at this point. Denying 4th bases left and right. He was here earlier, was at the top left side. So that's basically the 3rd denial. If he wouldn't have done that, Nightmare's 4th base could have been done at this point. It could have pretty much been up and running, slowly but steady saturating it. Serral doing a very good job in preventing that from happening. We're gonna go up to 4 bases for the 4th time. Serral has a bunch of links at the bottom side of the map as well. I hope for Nightmare that he's got a adept on hold position. If he doesn't, he's going to be in some trouble. Yona is all about them early hives. We've seen him get Vipers out against double robo builds. That's a lot of links, by the way, and it's +1 links. There is no shield battery. Nightmare, you're going to have to respect that, my friend. Nightmare thinks he can just re-wall, but I'm not sure if this is the right way to deal with this. He's going to try one more time. At the same time, he's deep on creep, but this really does not end well in general for Protoss players. The floodgates are open in the natural. Yona breaks through with a whole bunch of links. Seems that 1 or 2 of the Oracles have turned around. The links and roaches in the top left side. Look at how many links, guys, are in the main base at this point. Nightmare's about to lose a silly amount of workers, and he can't possibly be happy with that. Stalkers are very good, but you need to babysit them non-stop. And having to fight 2 or 3 battles at once with Blink Stalkers, unless you're Alpha Star, that's pretty much impossible. That was a great counter by Yona. He's not done yet. Can we take a look at the natural, please? I don't know why the main camera is now on a bunch of roaches that are not doing anything. The links have turned around from the main base back into the natural, and 25 probes have gone down. And honestly, we are off to a flying start, guys. +3 melees on the way, Adrenal glances on the way, but none of that even really matters. Even if Serral was on lair tech at this point, we'd be loving this game for him. Look at the minimap, the swarm is here in all its glory. We'll turn around for a split second, maybe worried about the fact that there is no anti-air in that army, but Nightmare had a very cute idea in game 1. It just kind of got denied. Serral prevented it from happening in the first place, and that was very... that's a good way of dealing with what could have potentially been a very gnarly build. In the second game, this kind of feels that Serral is operating on a whole nother level. We know Nightmare is good, but Serral is better. At least today, we have a couple of links, banelings, roaches, against Stalkers only. A couple of the Stalkers are going to blink on the high ground. That's a cute idea, but this Protoss army, all it can really do is run. And Protoss army, if they're just running, are simply not very good. Stalkers by themselves, they don't really stand a chance. As the Reynor glance is going to kick in as well. And Serral gets off to a great start. 2-0. I believe that's the first time ever, by the way, that Serral plays in the WTL Code S playoffs. Take a 2-0 lead. Not bad. In Dutch we like to say, een goed begin is het halve werk. How do you say that? Goed begin is het halve werk. I forgot the Dutch sayings, guys. My brain is a little fried. We had a long wedding yesterday. Slowly had enough of Mr. Vortex. I can live with it. Nightmare when he blinked in was 6 army supply ahead and he threw the game by blinking. You mean on Neo-Humanity? Yes, but it's still... Fighting on the edge of creep is very different than fighting on creep, right? We saw a couple of these fights here deep on creep. Stalkers without any upgrades, they have a very hard time getting in the middle of 3 or 4 bases. And obviously it was 4 base against 3 base. So I understand that Nightmare felt he had to push the issue a little bit on... Let me settle the prediction, by the way. I'll give you guys the next prediction. I understood that he felt he was on the clock because he had no Forge and no Robo in that first game. I don't think you can really call that a throw. I think Serral was in control from pretty much the beginning when he scouted the proxy till the very end. It just got somewhat close at one point because sure, a couple queens went down and Serral was spending money on upgrades that were going to kick in a little bit later. Gonna be Dongregu for sure right now. Well, DRG has been their MVP, right? He had a great run in the playoffs so far. 90% of you guys believed that Serral was gonna get the 2-0, and that is correct. Congrats to the winners. And mostly, congrats to us! Woo! So, ABYDOS already started, guys, on the very first day of the playoffs. This was on Friday. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to cover that for you guys because I was traveling to Sweden on Friday. I did spend some time in a spa, by the way, in Marstrand. And it was bra jobbat, jättebra. It was very nice. And then ABYDOS had a nail-biter against Team Liquid. It was 1-1, 1-1, 1-1, 1-1. In the end, Creator got the job done in the ace match. And then, honestly, surprised many of us by taking out a DKZ yesterday. Dark Hero and the world champ Oliveira. They fell against Creator Cure and Dongregu being the absolute MVP yesterday. Some of you guys saying this must be Dongregu next. Well, no, I'm looking at Creator now, by the way. Just spotted the captain badge. Yeah, I've been wearing it all season long, amigo. I don't know if they're showing Creator because he's in charge. First blood. Hey, mine is better, by the way, guys.
First blood.
Which I gotta say the feminine voice is nice, but I think my first blood is better. Have they been watching the Roddy stream? Are they copying me over here? I want royalties. It is Creator, guys. Okay. Alright. Well, I find that a tiny bit surprising. I'm gonna give you guys a new prediction. Cool. Serral versus Creator. Serral 2-0. Serral 1-1 Creator. Serral 0-2 Creator. Think I can give you guys... Alright, 5 minutes, guys. I know that's not as long as I normally give you guys, but I want to make sure that we get it done in time. 5 minutes! Serral versus Creator. Second match. Surprising.
ABYDOS versus BASILISK Game 2 好戏开场了
I mean, maybe... I find that weird. I actually find that weird. Like, Cure obviously is an amazing player, even though he did get bopped by Serral at Game S8. Dongregu seems to be in good shape, and a little bit of ZVZ chaos after we just saw Serral fall against Solar in Game S8, but hey, I don't mind. I do not mind watching our boy play some more ZVPs. Top left side, guys, of Gresswan, representing ABYDOS. That was Creator. In the bottom right side, we are looking at the main base of the great Iona Sotala, Serral. The statistics don't lie, is what he said in the little interview we did earlier this week. The man is now 25-1 this season. He actually got $1,100 by the way for being the MVP of the regular season. It's pretty sick. That's not a bad bonus. Like maybe for Yona it's not the biggest deal of the world, but a random $1,100 showing up just because you did great in the regular season. I think that's pretty awesome. Really love everything that the WTL has done for the StarCraft 2 scene this year. Obviously you got the Masters Coliseum coming up. You've had the Kung Fu Cups on the Wednesdays, which was a lot of fun. On which server do they play? When it's Europe against Korea, most of the time it's one game on West, one game on Central. NA is obviously not very specific. I think the first game, maybe Creator can choose. So I assume that this one is on US West. And I think the next one would be on US Central. Hello, Lethal. Thank you, mate, for the 9 months. Sorry if I missed any other subbies, by the way. I will do a whole bunch of shoutouts at the end when hopefully we can have a little party. WTL has been awesome, even though rarely in my time zone. I actually think it's good for the Australian viewers, mate. What was it throughout the regular season? It was 2 PM and 4 PM, right, in Europe? That's not bad. I think the Aussies cannot complain. Because the first match of regular season would often start around like 9 or 10 your time. And then the second one is maybe a little bit later. But I think Americans can complain more when it's like 5 AM. You want to watch some StarCraft? We have a 1-gate fast expand with a quick robo. So Creator guys opening up with the robotics facility. Could this be for just a cheeky War Prism, drop 2 adepts in the main base and try to find some more damage like that? Could this lead into a weird double robo build? Is this just a very safe way of getting up to 3 bases? But something is going to be a bit weird. Creator tries to draw first blood and will get it, but not the first blood he was looking for. Doesn't want Zerglings there. He wants roaches. Actually, drones. Killing a roach that early would be difficult. Some very early Robo Bay, guys. Surprising strategies today by our Protoss nerds. I don't hate it. Seems that they do really come in with a plan. Obviously, there's a lot of prize money on the line. And whenever you play in a team tournament, you are in general willing to work just a tiny bit harder because it's not just about yourself. There's nothing better than celebrating with your teammates. Serral's Overlord is pretty close to where it needs to be. It kind of feels that Creator lost vision of that Overlord, or just has no idea that it's there. He's building a lot of pylons on the right side of his main. He clearly wants to keep Serral in the dark. But Serral should be able to pick up on this. Here we have our Overlord. And that is a perfect scout. Sees the Warp Prism, sees the Robo, and that's all he really needs to see. He's gonna actually hide it as well. So there's a chance right now that Creator doesn't even know that Serral already knows. Which is obviously even better than you just scouting. So that was picture perfect for Yona once more. Seems that our man is on a mission. Couple of Zerglings running to the other side of the map. Creator should have a unit obviously in the wall. Serral was going to leave a single Zergling behind just to make sure that Creator doesn't go up to 3 bases. First Disruptor is out, second Disruptor is in production. Creator is maybe willing to like shade some adepts in and then pick it up with a Prism, but I think at that point that was more of a fake, trying to force out some units early on. Colossus, okay. So we have Speed Prism, double Disruptor into a Colossus. So a little bit of everything. We are now 5 minutes into the game. Creator is still a 2-base Protoss, but he's building a lot of probes, so he is giving us the idea that he does want to go up to 3 bases. First 2 Novas will fly forward, and Creator actually gets the double kill. That's the first mistake I think we've really seen Yoda make in these 3 games. A single queen is something you can always lose there. Losing 2 queens against 2 Novas, yeah, that is a bit too much. The Serral makes his first mistake. That's not necessarily game ending, but it's obviously not ideal. In a perfect world, he was even able to like save all the queens if Creator would have made a little mistake with the timing of the Novas. It takes 2 Purification Novas to kill a queen. Everything else pretty much gets one-shotted. Speed Prism flies into the natural. Very early pull though. And a little bit of real damage there on the Disruptor. That's not too bad. Oh, Yona quick with the links there. Creator not getting a whole lot done with round 2. Round 1 got 2 queens. That's not bad. Round 2 he got like 2 Zerglings. WTL uses 9 range Colossus, right? Yes. They absolutely do. I don't think we had an all kill in the playoffs so far. No, there's not been a single all kill. I don't even know what the exact score would be as the Novas once more try to connect. Serral losing 2 drones there. A little bit of lost mining time. Like obviously Creator is getting something done. I was wondering if Serral would still have the confidence to just go for a very quick hive in this game. It seems that the answer to that question is yes. The infestation pit is done. We're not obviously expecting any swarm host or infestors here, so there's only one reason why he would build that quick infestation pit. And that is to go for a pretty damn quick hive. 7 minutes and 6 seconds. The hive tech has been started. There's a little supply block. 2 Novas flying forward. They will connect with the queen. There were no other queens nearby. There's an observer on the edge of creep as well. I bet Creator wishes that he could just put 1 more unit inside of that War Prism. Then he can actually deny some creep and start pushing that back. We've got a couple of cannons going up. A Dark Shrine. Creator is playing a pretty cool build so far. Playing a good game. I just don't know if good is good enough against Iron Man. I mean, if we hit that with the army mate, we may as well take 2 or 3 more creep tumors. Single Zergling is unfortunately not able to deny that 4th Nexus from going up on the 9 o'clock position. But it's all good. Serral knows about the timing. And that's obviously useful information. Few more Novas, softening up a queen, a little bit of lost mining time, but Creator definitely not getting those money shots. Serral is clearly paying attention, he's wide awake, he knows what he needs to be paying attention to. That doesn't mean that this game is in the bag. Creator is gonna have a pretty scary army, but Serral will have Vipers. I don't think Creator has a Templar Archives just yet. Dealing with Vipers without any feedback is hard. Even with feedback, I think it's pretty hard. But that's just me. Creator is a much bigger and better man than I am. 17 Banelings on the way. Plus 2 melee is halfway done. Creator is warping in a lot of DTs, but he's kind of just morphing all of them into Archons immediately. Almost feels that Dark Shrine was more used for defensive purposes, or maybe hoping that the Prism would find an opening somewhere, but that's a lot of Archons out of a Dark Shrine though, guys. He's warping in 2 more DTs. Creator, I think, is thinking of attacking in the near future. The thing is, though, that Serral wouldn't really mind battling. So, obviously, if Creator moves out, he makes Serral's life a little bit easier. Because Serral is maxed out at this point. He has a decent army. It's not necessarily the best army. So, at this point, Serral just wants to start trading. It's 84 drones against 69 prompts. Vipers, can they land some abduction? Yes. Will any of the Novas go off? A single Nova goes off, but 3 Disruptors die immediately. The Immortal dies as well. That honestly wasn't the greatest start for Creator, because he's playing single Robo. Yeah, dealing with Vipers is hard. The Nova was alright, but it wasn't quite picture perfect, and this was a perfectly fine fight for Serral, who's richer, he's got a better economy, he's got a bigger army, and he just kind of reset the Robo count unit of Creator. That single leftover Colossus, I don't even think it has extended thermal lens. Does seem there was a tiny counterattack by Creator. Gets 4 drones, but that's not really going to slow our men down a whole lot. Serral is maxed out once more. We've got a Spire on the way too. Vipers have energy. I mean, I think he's just going to try to get whatever good trade he can. Trader might actually almost be afraid at this point to build big, expensive Robo units. He knows they're going to get abducted. I guess Serral's first priority here is going to be that Colossus. It's obviously very good against Lynx. That Colossus is going to get abducted. We have a few Banelings already running into the mineral line at that 9 o'clock base. And that's 16 probes going down. Obviously, this wasn't cheap for Serral. But I think the 16 probes absolutely make it okay. He takes out a Colossus as well. He's going to try to get a few more with these Banes. And get 6 extra workers. And with the economic advantage that Serral currently has. Throwing away a few Banes for 6 extra probes. Perfectly good. So far, we are looking at a Jonas Sutala who's on a mission. It was honestly kind of funny because both ABYDOS and BASILISK started off in WTL Code A this season. And we all thought that we were going to play them once, if not twice. You know, upper bracket final, grand final. Somehow we didn't play against each other. They were memeing around a little bit in the qualifiers. It seemed that they didn't care all that much about that prize money or the prestige. So they did qualify for Code S, but they didn't necessarily have the best run. So we only played them in the regular season. That one went alright. Today it seems to be going more than alright. Yona is looking mighty fine over here. Creator trying to just get those 4 bases up and running. He does have +3. +3 obviously pretty good 12 minutes into the game. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just gateway units, guys. And as a man who's got a lot of experience with losing with just gateway units, I'm really not all that concerned about this Protoss army. There's a few more +2 Banelings make it into the mineral line. And we're gonna try again. Archons did their best, but in the end a few more Banes sneak through the cracks. 6 workers go down. I don't really know where Creator wants to go. I don't know if he has somewhere to go. Like Serral, he's basically always maxed out. He's taking bases. He's covering the entire side of the map in creep. At least his side. Not too much offensive creep yet, but obviously has all the map vision in the world. Shouldn't really be surprised by anything. And he is still tacking up. Got the Great Aspire. We're getting some flyer attacks as well. All the Creator is really doing, guys, is building gateway units. And near shield batteries and cannons, that might be somewhat alright. But when it has to go out and about into the center of the map, it's really not that scary. And Creator, I'm sure, knows that too. But he probably feels that if he starts building Colossus or Disruptors, he's a bit sloppy too, as another Immortal just gets abducted in the middle of nowhere. Mine would have gone down anyway. There's a few more Banelings run into the middle line, and the great Jonas Sutala, guys. I don't want to say he's making it look easy, because it can't possibly be easy in the WTL Code S playoffs. But so far, it kind of reminds me of a Sunday afternoon drive of Max Verstappen. Where he's like, cool, simply lovely, make a couple links, roaches, ravages, and we are fine. As 21 probes go down, and Creator is forced to tap out as well. Yona, 3-0. As he looks to the left. He said, are you watching, Roddy? I still got it. Oh, I'm watching, mate. I'm watching. I'm loving it. It's looking good. You guys want it? Jonas Sutala. No Sunday afternoon drive just yet. Couple weeks, right? When is Zandvoort? And I hope that, I guess Reynor is going to take a holiday sometime soon. I was really low-key hoping, guys, that I could go to Zandvoort together with Reynor. I think that would have been a lot of fun, but Serral wants to prevent us from seeing Reynor's rating. Well, even if we win against ABYDOS, we're obviously not there yet. And there's a good chance we'll see Reynor in the grand finals. I think Reynor is not going to be in the Netherlands for a little while, so unfortunately I don't think we can go to the Zandvoort Grand Prix together. I hope that we can visit one race this year, though. It would be super fun. But if Reynor says, Roddy, I'm going to take a 3-month holiday after today, who are we to blame him, guys? Hasn't the boy done it all? Won the Home Server Cup, 1 game is 8. And if we can bring today to a successful ending, would anybody blame Reynor for taking some time for himself and enjoying life a little bit? Not me. Is this different than group play and they can use 1 player in all games? Yeah, it's a little bit different. Obviously, there is not just an ace match, there is also an insta revive. I don't really know how it's all going to work. What is going to follow the games? The amount of money China put into this. Look at this streaming from the spaceship. I think it's always very cool that they have like an old school caster and then a pro player that's still somewhat active, but at the same time is also being focused on casting. Maxed is a really cool guy and a proper RTS legend. Even though he's not someone that like really won big international tournaments, he's been around for so long, guys. Before StarCraft 2 came out, a little Roddy traveled to China to play in a couple of Warcraft 3 tournaments and hopefully practice with the Chinese guys, because what was the equivalent of going to Korea in the early years of StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty to practice with the Koreans was going to China in Warcraft 3, because they just had so many good players. Unfortunately, a lot of them were not really down to practice with me back then, but Max said he was always down, and I played a whole bunch of games with him, so I have nothing but love for him from my early Warcraft 3 days. In the top right side of altitude, we are looking at the main base of ABYDOS Creator, as they are down 0-3 at this point against this man, the great Jonas Sotala, representing Basilisk. It's Serral. Serral said the more he thought about starting today, the more he became a fan of the plan. And Reynor said, let him cook. Trigger said, let me sleep. Everything is working out so far. So I don't exactly know what would happen if Serral 2-0's Creator. Because obviously you have lives, right? Like, I think the map score doesn't really matter. Because it's not, it cannot be over, right? If Serral wins this game too, wouldn't that just be the next player? They can still send out Cure and then they can still revive someone. Yeah, it's displayed at the top with the dots. Those are the lives, right? So obviously we have all 4 lives. Yeah. Yeah, obviously if Serral wins, he stays on. I know about that point. It's just like, it's a little bit confusing that they are like best of 7, because then some people may think like, oh, if it's 4-0, the best of 7 isn't over. But it's all about the players and the lives. So that's what the dots represent. If Serral beats Creator here, obviously they drop to 2 lives. We still have 4. I think Serral would need to go 8-0 for an all kill. What about 7-0? I think 7-0 is yeah. Because you can go 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. And then they have an insta revive. But obviously if they would lose the first map, it's already done, right? Because then the best thing that could happen is that it's 1-1. And then you both lose a player. So obviously that would be the end. So 7-0 is the best that the man can do today. And 7-1 indeed would get the job done as well. I feel sorry for ABYDOS. As I said in the beginning of this broadcast, and I stand by it, today is a bit of a conflicting day almost for me. Because a lot of you guys, when I go to like big offline events, you guys think that I'm always like Protoss biased or Foreigner biased. But what I'm honestly most of the time just hoping for is that we get a lot of close, fun, competitive games that make StarCraft 2 look good to new viewers and that people can get behind it. But today I'm obviously very invested in Basilisk doing well. It's been a long journey for us, so on one hand I'm like okay with it being smooth sailing, but then on the other end there's the StarCraft 2 caster and fan in me that's like, okay, you don't really want it to be ultra one-sided because that's not good for the scene, and I don't really wish that upon the WTL guys either, who did a great job all season long. You hope for them as tournament organizers that they have an epic final day, so... On the other hand, it's not like if I see Serral drop a map, then I'm like, oh yeah, like now it's going to be fun. Because then it also gets scary. So I don't really know what I'm hoping for. Just as long as the final result, I guess, is the one that we all want, I'm okay. You wonder what Creator thinks now? Creator is wondering, why didn't we just send out Dongregu or Cure? Yeah, I definitely went over a couple of scenarios in my head before this clan war started. I'll be dead honest with you guys, I did not think about the scenario of Nightmare starting and that being followed up by Creator. That's not a scenario that I really thought of, but it's okay. It's working out so far, so... Yeah. If Serral goes 7-0, does he start the next series too? Or do you let him rest a bit? Obviously we cannot answer that question, mate. We are not going to help on site. I know there are spies in the channel. Gemini. So, we will see, mate. We take it one match at a time. We do not start planning for the next match. But everything is possible, including Roddy starting. You know, I had a beautiful day in Sweden. Happiness, wedding vibes. We danced a little, we drank a little. Could be me. Who knows? We all know Maro is afraid of the Roddy, so... I agree with you, Henom. 2 hours sleep, hungover Roddy. I wouldn't say that I'm hangover. I think you guys know what hangover Roddy looks like, right? A few times in the past when we partied in Sweden and I came home to do the weekly the following day. I think you guys know what hangover Roddy looks like. I think I'm in pretty good shape. It's just that I'm a little bit tired, which is normal, right? If you... I had a 24 plus hour day and little tiny bits and pieces of sleep. Anyway, enough about me, as we have a couple of adepts on the bottom side of the map. Creator denying at 4th base. Actually gets the kill on the drone, so that's nice for Creator. He's going to be happy with that. Wonder if Serral was willing to just take the triangle. Hangover Roddy is the best Roddy. I would kind of disagree with that. I always get really sad when I'm hangover. It's like when I was young, it wasn't really that big of a deal, right? You wake up and you're like, oh, my head hurts. And then 45 minutes later, you're like... But once you're like 35, I don't know, man. Whenever I get hangover, I just feel like I enter a depression. Like, I'm just so disappointed and sad. And I ask myself, why did I drink a lot? You know, so it's really not the best Roddy. He's pretty sad. But yesterday we behaved. It was fun. Yeah. We have 2 oracles with a lot of energy flying to the bottom side of the map. I would love to take a look at those as Serral drops a Spire. It's 67 workers against 67 workers. I think out of the 4 games we've seen so far, this is the best a Protoss economy has looked. I don't know what our observer is doing this game, by the way, as we do lose 1 oracle on the side of Creator. But he got 6 drones, so that's obviously not too shabby. It's a shame for Creator that he lost that one, because I think there's a world where he could have saved it. But what's obviously more important for Creator is that he starts picking up on the fact there is a Spire. Now Serral's going to see this little army moving out. That's kind of a bit of everything. Couple Zealots with Soon, +1, and Charge. That obviously means that we don't have Blink yet on the side of Creator. Creator may feel that moving out is not the right call after Serral saw the move out with some units in the center of the map. But I actually think it would have still been good. But if he just wanted to force out some roaches, he has done that. Spire, though, close to finishing up and has not been scouted yet by Creator. It's important to keep an eye on the production tab, because we know that Charge is done. But he's not starting Blink yet, guys. Creator obviously does have a Stargate. He gets close to scouting the Spire, but he still doesn't see it. That means that he's not building any Phoenixes yet. I mean, we do see a whole bunch of cannons and batteries go up. I don't really know where. It kind of feels like they're going to be all over the shop. Being a 4-base Protoss, though, and having to deal with Mutas, if you don't have Phoenix and you don't have Blink Stalkers, yeah, that's straight out of my worst Protoss nightmare. I'll never forget Drogo arguing with me once that you don't have to worry about Mutas if you have a War Prism and 2 Archons. I'm like, okay, maybe Drogo, but I feel like then you need to be very good with your War Prism and 2 Archons. First few Mutas are on the right side. Okay, at this point, Creator definitely knows it's double Stargate and a Fleet Beacon. So he wants to go triple Stargate, Fleet Beacon, or that's maybe just for carriers. But he's going to be happy with that investment when he sees the first few Mutas. We have a cannon in the main middle line, couple Stalkers being wiped into things. The Stalkers don't have Blink. And Stalkers without Blink, they kind of suck. Serral has maxed out. It's a lot of roaches and links, obviously, as he's going to try to go for that Disruptor. I think Battery Overcharge would easily save that Disruptor. Creator, uh-oh. Creator lets it die. Couple links get into the natural too. There is an army coming in from the left side, though. The Mutas are all over the shop. Battery Overcharge finally gets activated, but the battery was fully surrounded by Zerglings. I don't think it's quite the best defense so far on the side of Creator. Now, it's obviously very hard if you get surprised by Mutas. It's always a little WTF moment. I kind of feel the Creator is falling apart, but he could obviously land a massive Nova and then he'd be okay. There are Disruptors in multiple different locations. One more Nova whiffs. The other one on the left side can definitely fire. I wouldn't hate it if he fires right now. And he does, but Serral turns around immediately. Even the Phoenix is struggling a little bit with the Mutas. Serral wants to get on top of this Protoss army. He gets the Disruptor. He gets the Archon. He gets the second Archon. And now all that's left is a couple Stalkers that still don't have Blink. The Phoenix helping out a little bit. One Nova. Nope. Serral goes full cuckoo. And he doesn't even have Stim, but he still gets the hot pickoff. And that's obviously what you want to see if you're rooting for Serral or Basilisk. As Creator is just in trouble. This game was not looking all that bad. just think he messed up a little bit. And it's obviously very easy to mess up against Serral. Serral wants to get one more disruptor and he gets it. I think if Creator would have just activated Overcharge a little bit earlier and would have saved this first disruptor, it really would have been so much harder for Serral to get this much done. Serral has Hive on the way, a Bailing Nest on the way, 16 links, 13 roaches. There is a Stasis Strappy here though, and that's a good old Stasis Strappy. And that actually makes it doable for Creator to clean up the rest of this army. Second Stasis Trap gets activated too. Creator's even going to build the Desperation Void Ray, but Desperation Void Rays, I don't know if they will really get it done. Oh, look at that split, by the way. Jeez Louise, guys. Jonas Otala showing us that it's not just about splitting Marines. That was actually incredibly well done. Effortless, made it look easy. One Nova does connect there with a couple of roaches, but Serral's already finding a lot of damage. Creator knows it. He sees the probes falling, and he will tap out too. Serral goes 4-0 against ABYDOS in the playoffs. Not quite the grand finals yet. The upper bracket final, but there is only one bracket. Yana looking good. He's wondering, you guys gonna send any more Protoss players? Like SOS, you wanna come out, mate? So far, so good, guys. ABYDOS now down to 2 players. It has to be Cure, right? Next map, by the way, is Royal Blood. The funny thing is that this series started off on Grass-1, and you would actually think that Cure on Grass-1 plays some late game TVC, but I don't know. It is what it is. Reynor likes what he sees. I like what we see as well, mate. Serral 2-0 is our correct prediction. And now we will wait to see what the next player is going to be. Give me a quick second, guys. I'm going to go ahead and take a very tiny break. Why does Serral look so bored? Lol, too easy? No. I think Serral, that's just his focused face. I think Serral thinks a lot. And the one thing that he's not concerned about is the camera that's looking at his face. Serral's just thinking about the games right now. Probably going over a few of the things that happened in those games. Evaluating his own performance. And I think he came to the conclusion that it was pretty good. I'll take a very tiny break, guys, and after that I'll be back. Let's see who comes up next. Alright. Your man is back. I'm so stupid. I had 2 chargers. One of them was plugged in, the other one was not. Thought, alright, my phone is fully charged. Turns out that I plugged the charger in that wasn't connected to the power supply. Power outlet, whatever. It's great. It seems like it's going to be Serral versus Cure now, guys. So we're going to kick things off on Royal Blood. A classic, yeah. So you guys are just going to have to keep me updated on how Reynor is doing. Because now I cannot get any updates. Serral versus Cure, best of 2. Serral 2-0. Serral 1-1 Cure. Serral 0-2 Cure. I'll give you guys 5 minutes. I think that should be more than enough. They are not quite ready yet. So I guess it was a good moment for me to take a tiny break. SOS has indeed been out of the military for a while, but it would have been very surprising to us to see SOS come out here. I still think it's crazy after Dongregor had such a good showing yesterday and clearly was the MVP to bring it home, that they wouldn't use him today. And it's not that I would be ultra worried about Dongregor taking out Serral and Reynor, but you think in a ZVZ it's always a little bit more possible than in PVZ. You know how freaking good Serral is in ZVP. But hey, this is their plan, and so far it's going pretty well for us, so I'm not complaining. This is the man who was the runner-up at Gamers 8, winning $65,000 last week. Cure, representing ABYDOS. Likes to still rock the Team NV jerseys. Double kill for this man.
Double kill.
They really watched the Roddy stream, guys. They stole all my effects. Yona off to a flying start. He wanted to start. He said the more he thought about it, the bigger of a fan he became of the plan of him being our first player today. And so far, it's working out well. If Serral wins 2-0 here, there will still be one last opportunity for ABYDOS to turn things around. But let's just see how it goes between these two absolute titans of the StarCraft 2 scene. Cure, by many people considered to be the second best Terran player in the world after Maru. I always kind of think that Clem is up there too. But maybe Cure has obviously performed a bit better at offline events. And I don't know. Like, Cure might be better than Clem in TVT. I think Clem is a bit better in some other things of StarCraft 2. Do you know why ABYDOS didn't start Cure first? No. We do not know that. But that's what I kind of expected, to be honest. I thought Neo Humanity... Obviously, we have two amazing Zork players on the roster. Neo Humanity, not a bad map to play some TVZ on.
BASILISK Game 3 就让比赛开始吧
Yeah, I know that my camera was blocking Yona's face for a bit, but I need to have the camera somewhere. And in the game, they obviously use picture-in-picture, so I cannot really have my camera on the bottom right side the way that I normally do it. Alrighty, guys, here we go. Royal Blood for our third best of 2 of this clan war. In the bottom left side, we are looking at the main base of the runner-up of Gamers 8, ABYDOS Cure. And in the top right side, we are looking at the main base of the man who wanted to start, and so far he is delivering. He has now improved his record to 27-1 in WTL Code S. It's Serral. And he obviously played a few games in Code A as well. I think maybe like 4 games in total. What did you replace Pikachu with? Pika is still here. Maybe I can show you guys Pika real quick. Oh no, wait. I cannot turn my camera. I cannot. I forgot that I have a different tripod right now. Pika is flat on the table. There is not a whole lot of life left in Pika, but Pika did want to make it to the WTL Code S playoffs to celebrate together. You're gonna open up with 2 Rex Reaper. There's been a lot of talk about this. I saw a little Reddit thread the other day. Somebody wondering if we could boost Reapers one way or the other to scale a bit better into the mid game and late game. Some Zerg nerds were very upset about it immediately. We already see 2 Rex Reaper in every low master to throw level game, and you wanna make the Reapers even stronger? You're crazy. I always love reading a little bit of strategy. Serral has only dropped 1 map throughout the entire season. He went 1-1 against Scarlet. Did lose Royal Blood, by the way. Now, obviously, that has very little to do with a TVZ here, but when we played against the Shopify Rebellion in week 7 or week 8, Serral went 1-1 with Scarlet. And I actually felt that Serral was winning that game. I was casting it together with Lambo. Lambo already knew the outcome of that best of 2. I didn't. If there's one thing that I never really do is cast games that I already know the outcome of. And that's something that maybe I've been a bit too married to. I feel like over the years I made my own life a lot harder by trying to always stick to that rule. This is... Oh, okay. That was kind of close. That's also somewhat close. So far, Serral saving the drones, but I gotta say that first drone save was a little too close for comfort. We've got 2 Reapers working on the Queens. Keeping a close eye. Obviously, Cure just doing the normal stuff at home, building some SCVs, CCs finishing up, factories on the way. So this is very standard. This is something that Yona is going to be very familiar with as well. This is where Cure would really like to get at least something going. 1 Reaper is awfully close to falling, but good save in the end by Cure. Absolutely not Yuva Pro. Absolutely not. This is my little home commentary of Team Basilisk. Reaper's gonna hop into the main base one more time. Serral actually has Burrow on the production tab, but that just seemed to be a mistake. He cancelled it immediately. I was like, I'm not familiar with that one, guys. The quick Burrow rush against 2 Rex Reaper. I was like, okay. Are we gonna learn something new today? But nah, just a little misclick. Serral believes in the Queens a whole lot more than he believes in the Zerglings, and so far he's getting away with it. I think maybe Yona got a tiny bit fortunate that Cure then stopped at 3 Reapers only. But there's a good chance that Serral's obviously done his homework, has maybe taken a look at some of the games that Cure has played over the last few weeks. Maybe Reynor is helping out as well, and just felt that he can get away with this. Hello, hello, Lambo. 57 months. Your team is not fair in all kill formats. But that's not a guarantee to victory, mate. We also think that Bayern Munich ain't fair in the Bundesliga with all that money. And then they run into Red Bull Leipzig and oh. Le Massacre. So far we're doing good. Serral has his first few roaches on the way. Roach speed is currently being researched. Leipzig has as much money. I highly doubt that. Obviously if they really want to, but I don't think that's really how it works. I think the Bundesliga fair play rules are pretty strict. Poor Harry Kane. Goes to Bayern that wins like 7 trophies a year on average. Harry Kane makes a transfer, they still can't win a trophy. Cure moving out with an army that obviously has some potential, guys. Stim is going to finish up in 5 seconds. There aren't too many Marines here, but a few more are trailing behind. This is where Serral obviously needs to make sure that he handles things correctly. There's a lot more micro potential in the army of Cure than there is in the army of Serral. Serral loses 1 Overlord. That's about it. Already going back into droning, guys. You're not feeling confident that this is the right amount of roaches he needs here. And so far, he's really not struggling. Juve Pro, mate. Chill. You are not in charge. I feel like you do this with everything I do at the moment. Take it easy, amigo. We've got an overseer floating around in the main base of Cure, trying to keep a close eye on everything that Cure is doing. Serral will see. Nothing too shocking, nothing too surprising. Ready to start against onside. Sure. Let's make Gemini and Maro believe that Roddy is starting against onside. Cure unloading his units into the main base. There are a couple roaches on the low ground. If Cure would have immediately walked towards the right there, I actually think he would have been able to take a good fight against the 4 roaches that do not quite have their upgrades yet. But seems that Cure wants to make sure he doesn't bleed out too many Marines. I'm gonna throw up a missile turret. Tiny bit worried about roaches with tunneling claws? Question mark. We are definitely not there yet. Maybe that will be Serral's plan down the line, but he's not gonna be there yet. The gold base is interesting. Don't think Cure has really picked up on that yet. Serral's gonna fire up a Zergling speed now as well. Got the hype train, guys. Let's go. 72 workers on the side of Yona, 62 on the side of Cure, who's just waiting for his own upgrades to kick in. Does he have an armory, by the way? I feel like we don't have an armory yet right now. Okay, he's gonna drop it right now, as we mentioned it. Does mean that I think there will be a tiny bit of downtime between the 1-1 and the 2-2 upgrades. Serral's taking a pretty alright fight here. Cure has a lot of army supply on the top right side. I wonder if he's gonna try to fly that into the main base or what the plan is here exactly. It feels that he wants to get a cancel or a kill on this hatchery, but this hatchery is obviously not here. We'll throw down a scan, get a couple of creep tumors, but this clearly went a lot better for Serral than it went for Cure. Cure not really getting a whole lot down, is now going to unload in the main base. There are a couple roaches, I believe, making their way over, but 3 is not enough. 3 is definitely not enough. Serral's going to send a few more units into the main. He's doing that. Cure knows that fighting roaches alone here would be silly. Why not go for a couple of drones? For the first time in all these games, I think Serral takes a decent amount of economic damage. Needs to be careful. Oh, one of the tanks just on siege, by the way. One of the tanks in the front on siege. Cure is going to save it. There are a couple tanks in the back, and I don't really love this attack. But obviously, if I don't love it, Yona won't love it either. Cure still active on the other side of the map. Cure definitely putting up a good fight. Yona is in danger of perhaps losing a few more drones in the main. Economically, though, because of the gold, I guess it's still alright. But Roach Ravager doesn't scale incredibly well. Yona working his way through the rocks. We have Hive 20-30% done. Accidentally picks up 8 Marines there immediately. That seemed like a misclick, and it absolutely was. I do like what Cure is doing here with the very early evacuations of the SCVs. I think that's kind of smart. Like, Serral wants to take a fight, but what he doesn't want to do is run into a whole bunch of tanks without any Vipers. The bank is growing on the side of Yona, so if he really wants to take a somewhat adventurous fight, he can. I love that medevac, by the way, that's just chilling on top of the army of Serral on the side of Cure. Cure making sure that he does not lose a vision of this army, keeps track of it, and will make sure that he has his units in the correct spot. Serral, his bank is growing and would love to just get a little bit of a trade. Is wondering if this is the fight. I really don't know about this fight. Wants to get a tank. Gets the tank, but he loses a lot of roaches and ravages immediately. The marine count is still quite high. This is where you need to be careful. That's a lot of blood, guys. And that seemed like a pretty damn good fight on the side of Cure. Now Cure is actually running away from his tanks for a split second. So the second part of the fight went a little bit better for Serral. As 9 SCVs ended up dying in the end. One of the Reapers of the early game still a part of this double drop. Yeah. The first somewhat questionable fight we have seen in 5 games. Now it's okay because Yona is rich and obviously needed to free up a bit of supply for Vipers and whatnot, but we want to be careful. Sure, doing a great job when it comes to scouting with these medevacs, by the way. Big kudos to him for that one. Cure had a whole bunch of tanks sieged up, OR. Tanks are pretty good. And I think the tank positioning was smart. He just did not give any opening to Serral to move the roaches and ravages forward and get a couple of them immediately. He's kind of just forced to fight marines at a distance. And that's not really what roaches and ravages want to do. But there is no need to picnic just yet. Serral still is maxed out. We've got an Ultralisk Cavern on the way. Adreno Glens close finishing up. Serral's going to try again. The Marines were looking for a sniper thing on one of the Vipers. Serral goes for a Blinding Cloud on the Marines. And a couple of the Marines ran into Banelings by the looks of it. Yeah, the fact that Serral has no anti-air is a bit of an issue. Because even just 2 Vikings are going to have a very fun time dealing with Vipers. It's a game, guys. The runner-up of Game is 8, once more showing us why he's one of the very best Terran players on this planet. I feel like he's playing a pretty solid game so far. Just had a good read on it from the very beginning till the end. Obviously, right when we compliment someone, he's losing a couple of Marines. That's a lot of tanks, Serral. There's a decent amount of Marines in the back as well. We do have a few corrosive bombs landing. Didn't quite see what they connected with. Our observer is, I don't know. He's a little questionable today for the in-game director. As a lot of Banelings are connecting with Marines here. Tanks were exposed on the left side. Serral does get the double kill on those tanks there. That's very important to lower that tank count a little bit. Otherwise, defending this gold would be very hard. And once this gold falls, obviously that base in the center of the map could be in some trouble too. Cure still pushing its 103 army supply against 127. But it's not the most terrifying 127 army supply. Gold base falls. Vikings are doing a very good job here for Cure and giving Cure the heads up. I think it's already by far and away the most difficult game that Serral has had so far today. Now immediately it starts getting a bit tense for me. But it's okay. This is obviously what we do hope for as StarCraft 2 fans as well. We want to see games be close and competitive. Cure has a couple of tanks on the left side. They are a little bit exposed. There is an Ultra coming in, and the Ultra is going to be absolutely amazing because the Marines and tanks are not going to have an easy time taking that Ultra out. And Serral doesn't just take a good fight. He takes an absolutely fantastic fight and just showed up with way more units than Cure thought he would have. And just like that, it is all over. So Serral says, cool. I lost the hatchery. A little bit sad. I was strong. And that means that no matter what happens here in the next game, obviously ABYDOS loses another life. Even if Cure ties things up, then both Cure and Serral will drop out. So things are looking mighty fine for us here in... How do you call this round? Like, it's not the upper bracket final. Is there an official term for this round? It's just the semifinals, I guess, yeah. It's a bit weird when, like, this is the format that we use, but I guess this is just the semifinals of the WTL Code S. Yeah, Grass 1 was banned. Yes, we banned Grass 1. I told you that earlier. We banned Grass 1. They banned Neo-Humanity, but because they banned it, they can still pick it. And I wouldn't be surprised. But then again, if Cure wants to play Neo Humanity, why didn't he just start? Right? Unless they thought that we would send out Trigger first, and maybe Cure was worried about going 1-1 in the PvT, but in Pro League it was called the silver match. I'm not familiar with that term. I mean, I think it's weird to call it the silver match when we can still win gold, right? The winner of this series can still win gold, so. Will the WTL show a team call like yesterday? I was attending the wedding yesterday, mate, so I don't really know how the broadcast looked. I told you guys I was a Liquipedia fan yesterday. I didn't want to be that guy that's on a wedding with like 50, 60 people and I'm like watching StarCraft on my phone all the time. But I obviously did check Liquipedia. Do you think Serral will consider it a failed run if he doesn't all-kill ABYDOS? No. I think Serral today is a team player and he will just be happy if we get the job done. Even if he would go 0-2, he'll be disappointed on a personal level, but he will still be happy as long as we advance. Alright guys, in the bottom right side of Dragon Skills, apparently that's going to be our next battleground. We are looking at the main base of the runner-up of Game S8, ABYDOS Cure. In the top left side of Dragon Skills, we are looking at the main base of the man who's just unstoppable in the WTL Code S or Code A for that matter. The MVP of the regular season, BASILISK Serral. I think they should revive Cure. If they don't revive Cure, it almost feels like they're giving up. Maybe they'll try Creator one more time, but it's just, to me, the order of players that they send in is weird. Yesterday, Dongregu did an amazing job for them. And obviously, going by the newbie logic, it's like, Serral lost CVG against Solar. They should send out Dongregu. I don't think Dongregu is a guaranteed recipe for success. But if you ask me honestly, Roddy, who has a better chance in taking a map of Serral, right? They don't need to 2-0, but just taking a map of Serral. Nightmare, Creator, or Dongregu. It's between Dongregu and Creator, but I'd probably go for Dongregu. So I think they could have just started off with Creator, but I don't know. Maybe he's not available today. But that'd be surprising when it's the final day of the WTL Code S playoffs. And Dongregu indeed did take out Serral in IM Katowice group stage. That is correct. And then obviously people are like, and he also lost to Reynor. Yes, guys. Turns out that not even Serral can win every single game he has ever played. We're all a little bit disappointed in that regard. But how's Reynor doing, by the way, guys? Are we up 5-0 yet? My phone is dead. It's being charged right now. How are we doing? 0-0, unbelievable. Failed season. First Reaper heading to the other side of the map. Reaper number 2 and 3 on the way. Cure is gonna stick with the 2 Rex Reaper opening. Last game, obviously, Serral barely made any Zerglings. Didn't even get Zergling speed until minute 7. Believed that it was just going to be 3 Reapers, and he was going to deal with it with a couple of Queens. And he got away with all of that. Still felt that Cure had a few things going his way in that previous game. But obviously, when he's like not getting any goals, no sensor towers, there are very few Marauders, if not 0 Marauders on the map. The moment Serral gets up to Hive Tech and an Ultra or 2 shows up. Chitinous plating is a problem. I saw that, Lethal. I think tonight is also Chelsea-Liverpool, so that's also kind of cool. I have a fun little Sunday. I've been looking forward to this day for a long time. I was a bit worried I was going to be ultra exhausted after the wedding and the journey, but I'm happy that I am in good spirits, and I definitely have more than enough energy to bring this broadcast home. And hopefully we can do what we set out to be a long time ago. And that is make the old man a champion. Haven't really been very victorious in the last 13 years of StarCraft 2. Even though I did finally take care of that Chinese caster. And now he wants another rematch. Unbelievable. Could be a short AFS 2 at this point. There will definitely be a decent amount of downtime as well between this Clan 1 and the next one. But let's not get carried away, guys. Obviously a lot of crazy things could happen. If Cure does manage to win this game on Dragon Skills, you know, a lot of things are still possible. We're off to a flying start. It really could not have gone any better so far. And we should be good. But we don't celebrate until it's all done. Is it a live game? Yes. I only really do live games. Unless I tell you guys that it's not live. What was your best team result as a player? 4th place in NGL 1. It's funny that you remember that. I think we had a good season in the WTL too, where we didn't make the offline playoffs. But we did just perform overall quite well against teams with much bigger budgets that spent way more money on salaries. We finished like 5th or 6th. I had a good record in that season, so I was happy with that one. But yeah, qualifying for the NGL offline finals in Berlin, where I also defeated Grubby, by the way, on LAN. For me, that was the best. But that was a very sad tournament for us because our Finnish player, Satini, was a little bit like Max Pax. He just wouldn't travel. So he was amazing for us online, and then we qualified for the offline finals. And Satini and I were supposed to be the MVPs. And then it was just me. And he said he was going to come until we all arrived in Berlin. And he's like, sorry guys, too afraid. We can't make it. And I was like, oh man. So then we had to use our manager, which was kind of sad. Trimble, I believe was his name. Yeah, could be that Hooligan was missing too. But I think that's what we knew because he needed a visa and he couldn't get the visa. But like with Satini, Ilikdok and me, we actually had a strong team, so I was happy with that. And like obviously guys, I'm memeing a little bit about me becoming a champ. Like I know that it's just these boys doing it, but for me it's super fun to be a part of this BASILISK journey. And I've been very involved from the very beginning when it comes to you know, which players are awesome. And I know some of you guys are memeing a little bit, like, oh, just get Serral and Reynor. But it's still amazing. Just let the man be happy. We've got a double drop sneaking into the main base of Serral. Serral is going to send over a few links. He's also going to move the Spore Crawler. At the same time, we need to keep an eye on the Hellions and Reapers on the right side. There is a link counterattack happening in the 3rd base of Cure. Cure is losing 4-5 SCVs, I believe. Now a couple of drones are going down to man. The observer is all over the place, guys. I'm sorry, I'm not the one who's doing the observing right now, but we are somehow missing everything. As now a couple of Marines are going to steam into the main base. At least Serral has more than enough links to take care of the double drop. Don't know if the Liberator is still alive or not. In the end, it's 4 SCVs for 4 drones. Reapers and Hellions are going to soften up the hatchery, but it's not going to be a very easy kill. Serral is thinking about engaging this. If Cure doesn't pay attention, Serral is going to get a great fight. If Cure is paying attention, it can be kind of hard to go for it. Serral is going to go for the triple surround. Any grenades going down? Cure? Nope. No grenades. It's going to make life a lot easier on the side of Serral. +1, pretty good. Marines are going to steam into the main base one more time though. Queen falls and the drones could be in a bit of a pickle. One medevac is in danger of dying against either the Spore Crawler or the next Queen. Oh, if the spawning pool dies though, guys, that could be a big loss. Serral knows that he cannot afford to lose the spawning pool. Now he's kind of forced to fight with Lynx before I think he really wanted to. It's good enough in the end, but Cure is playing at a pretty good pace. As the 1-1 upgrades are about to finish up for our Korean Terran. 2 tanks and a whole bunch of Marines in the top right side. Don't forget that this hatchery already took a tiny bit of a beating. Yeah, that hatchery is gonna fall. There's nothing that Jonah can really do about it. Minus supply block now as well. Serral thinks about going for it with the Lynx. Once again on top of the tanks. Banelings are late though, so that means that most of the Lynx will disappear. The tank target fire. Alright, in the end that kind of worked out. I mean, it's expensive for both players. But I was worried that Serral wasn't even gonna get both tanks there. In the end, he does make those 2 tanks go down, but he's still under a lot of pressure. A few more drones are falling, a few more Marines are stimming into that base at 12 o'clock. Cure is playing a pretty sexy game here. Every time I compliment someone, they make a little misclick. This happens in Patel too, by the way. I was playing with the 40-year-old ladies the other day, and I was like, oh, you're doing so good. And after that, she hit like the 4 worst balls that I've ever seen. One of my balls ended up in the ditch, couldn't get it back anymore. I was like, man, the caster curse in real life, it's powerful too. I was trying to be a nice team player. In F1 when I play with my friends, I was like, hey, you're doing good. Bam, retired. I did not ask for these powers, guys, but it's kind of sad. I just want to be nice and give people compliments, and every single time I do, it backfires. Tank gets picked off. Marines running for the hill. Still a few Banelings in the mix, and these Banelings are connecting. Cure is making a couple of serious slip-ups here after he was actually playing very sexy for like a minute straight. And that obviously is what's going to allow Serral to somewhat stabilize and definitely stay in this game. Serral is about to get his hands on an upgrade lead. It won't last forever. Why was Serral's Bane speed so late here? Because he's been under a lot of pressure. It's not easy to go up to 5 bases and play double Evo. Scan goes down, a few creep boys will fall. We've got a sensor tower going up, we've got another CC going up, so it doesn't really seem that Cure is about that 3 base life or dying trying, but I'm sure that he wishes he still had some of the momentum that he was working with earlier. Serral's hive is a whole lot later than it was in those previous games, or in many of his ZVTs that we've seen. It's firing up Burrow, a couple of Baileys coming in from the left side through the side blocker. It felt that Cure saw that quite late. For a game, by the way, where it felt that Serral was under a decent amount of pressure and had to take care of a lot of fires that were popping up all over the place, the creep spread is looking mighty fine. Now, what really sucks, by the way, first world problems, suffering from success for Serral, is that if he has this much creep, it's going to be hard to get very good burrowed banelings. Because where are you going to put them? I haven't heard any rumors about StarCraft 3. As much as I would love it, I don't think about StarCraft 3, guys. Because even if they would decide to work on that, it's gonna take forever before it's done. It's like asking me if I'm excited about the World Cup in 2048. I'm like, sure, but not now. I'm excited for Stormgate. And Serral sets up a pretty sexy 360 no-scope Mountain Dew surround. Couple of the Banelings do get popped in the middle of nowhere. Few Marines are surviving as a Liberator is making sure that justice reigns from above. And Serral did not quite get the fight I think that he was hoping for, as he forgot about those units. And this is why everyone should be an F2A move user. Because if he would have used F2A move, he would have used those units as well. And those Marines in the bottom would have been blown up by the Banelings. That Liberator definitely got way more kills than it's supposed to get. It gets a Queen as well. An MVP Lip. And Serral is behind in supply, is behind in workers at this point as well. He's going to try to make some chaos happen with the counterattack, but forgetting about those units in the bottom left side made that fight a whole lot worse than what it should have been. And also it allowed the Liberator to shine a lot more. Serral does find a lot of SCVs here, so the counterattack is excellent. It's 22 SCVs in total. We even used Burrow on a couple of these links, but Serral knows it. Serral looks kind of sad about it. Now the thing is though, guys, even when this goes into 1-1, Cure is falling as a player. They can revive him, but Cure still falls because he did not get the win. So we lose Serral, but they lose Cure. We could revive Serral, but we can also let somebody else play. We'll discuss it as a team. So it does still have a lot of Queens with energy. Queens are very good. Cure has a big army on the right side. Cure is up 35 army supply. Throws down a good scan. Especially the Liberators are going to be a bit of a nuisance to deal with. As the Marines get unloaded, but Serral's all over this drop. He's actually doing a great job with just a couple of links inside of his main base. And Cure hasn't really rebuilt SCVs for a while. Like, I know we've got triple orbital, and he's able to spam a few mules at a time. I'm a little bit surprised that he's been hard stuck at 43 SCVs. Now I'm gonna fire up 4 SCVs. 113 army supply is dangerous, but perhaps a few burrowed banelings is all we need, or just a sexy surround. Liberator's gonna siege up very early. I do think that's smart by Cure. Look at the minimap, by the way. Serral goes for another big counterattack. A Liberator was left behind. I think like a bunker would be very useful here for Cure. Picking up the sensor tower is nice, because that would maybe allow Serral to get a surprise engagement on this army. It's 2 upgrades for both players, and nobody really has the upgrade advantage here. Obviously, Serral does have a Reynor glance. Queens are taking an ambitious fight. Viper is going to go for it. We're going to come in with a couple of banelings from the bottom. Blinding Clouds in the center of this Terran army. And you kind of think that a few of these banelings should get absolutely amazing connections, and they definitely do. Serral comes out of that fight with a 20 supply lead. Don't forget, he still has an 18 worker advantage. Jonas Atala, Cure not looking too pleased with that one. We thought he was in trouble. We were ready to call an ambulance. Perhaps not for Yona. Obviously, on creep or off creep is going to make a night and day difference. And Cure, even though you can think that's a great spot to fight, like, you are kind of trapped there too, right? You're just kind of running out of space to run with your Marines. So eventually your Marines are cornered. Unless you pick them up immediately. Serral drops the Ultralisk Cavern of 70 drones. I kind of like the idea of just a lot of Lings and Banes at this point. The doors are wide open over here. It really does seem that Cure has given up on the idea of defending this third base. He's going to lose 10 more SCVs. That's going to honestly drop him into dangerous levels. He needs to make damn sure those Lings don't run into the natural. Because if they do, I do believe it is all over. Cure has a crazy amount of gas, but unfortunately for him, he cannot really morph in any Archons. Serral has kind of scented those, or rotated those Lings back. He's going to morph a couple of the Lings into Banelings. That's a weird spot to land your orbital, but it was blocked by a burrowed Ling or Baneling, as more Banelings will connect with Marines. Lings coming in from the bottom left side. Cure mostly focused on the right side of this fight. And the Liberators providing a lot of coverage. This is kind of it though for Cure, and I think he knows it. Serral's got 3 upgrades on the way. Serral's got double his work account. For Cure, it's kind of now or never, or it's definitely supposed to be win a fight and take out that base, or never. Yona still seems very stressed, but he's been doing very good in the last few minutes. He's trying to set up another surround. That parasitic bomb, he's going to soften up 2 Liberators at a time. Also going to force one of the Libs to move. Cure rallying some reinforcements to the other side of the map. It's still even upgrades at this point. The longer Cure waits, the harder it will get. But obviously Cure cannot afford to take another bad fight. Serral's going to go for it. The Blinding Cloud lands on one of the tanks on the right side. Marine Micro seems quite good, but there are still a decent amount of Banelings chasing down this Marine army. Serral turns around, maybe burrow a few Banes. It's exactly what he does right there, guys. But it's a single Baneling. Why one? Single Baneling burrow there. The 3 upgrades, as the Observer shows us, are about to kick in. Cure really wants to take out at the very bare minimum this base. But I don't even know if that's good enough, man. We're going to abduct a couple of these Vipers. The Queens are still there to provide some anti-air. The Lings are going to have much better fights. A juicy parasitic bomb in the middle of all these medevacs. And the great Yona Sotala, guys. It looked like he was in a bit of trouble. Definitely felt that he was on the ropes. At one point down for the army supply. But that's not stopping our boy. As GG gets called. And Serral goes 6-0 in the semifinals of the WTL Code S. Cure looking a little bummed out about that one. And that means that all we need from here on out is one more map win. And if we do, we advance into the grand finals of the WTL Code S. Cure had a really impressive, well, fuck. Yeah, I think Cure probably thought that at one point, I wouldn't say it was in the bag, but it was looking good, right? He was getting a couple of great trades. He was getting some great fights. Obviously, Yona didn't have all the units anymore to go for all the moves that he would have liked to go. Do we split the dollars or more to Serral? I actually believe 70% of the prize pool goes to Roddy for all the scheduling, being clutch in the ace match. The other 30% will be divided between Basilisk, Trigger, Reynor and Serral. I thought that was the most fair thing we could have gone for. Biggest prize out of my career, by the way. What a month. Choose outcome. Serral 2-0. And that means that we just have one more best of 1 to go. What will they do? Who are they going to revive? Will it be Cure, Creator? Will we finally see doing very good? I don't know. We will wait and see. No 1% for Twitch yet. Now if the boys are down with the 70% Roddy, 30% rest of the team split, 1% will go to Twitch chat. I promise you guys that. What did Serral have for breakfast today? I think Serral's just doing Serral things. Like, it's easy to focus on the 2 biggest tournaments we've had this year and be like, oh, Serral lost in the quarterfinals twice against the Zork. If you take those series out of the occasion, Serral has been amazing this year. Obviously, it lost to Reynor as well, the Home Story Cup, but like the boys have been on an absolute rampage. ever since both Serral and Reynor officially represent Basilisk, we had DreamHack Masters Sweden, Serral won. We had a Home Story Cup, Reynor won. We had Gamers 8, Reynor won. And in 2 out of those 3 tournaments, the boys knocked each other out as well. Red card for Feyenoord? What? You're memeing, right? No way. Are we actually struggling with Fortuna Sittard? Is this happening? There's no way. Oh my goodness. Bart Nieuwkoop as well. Oh, a great comeback. He's a player who grew up with Feyenoord. He played for us for a while. We recently got him back. After he played in Belgium for like a year. That's kind of weird. Can't remember the online tournament with 16 players. You mean the Africa Champions Cup? Any thoughts on why Serral and the late Stefano cannot win a ZVZ versus a Korean Zerg to save their lives? Well, let's take a look, mate. Let's take a look. Guys, can Serral win a ZVZ against a Korean Zerg to save his life? And the good thing is, mate, that I don't even have to answer that because there is a beautiful website who keeps track of all of this. So you do Serral. Then you do... what are we looking for exactly? Like, actually, we don't do this here. Let's go to Serral, right? Then we can take a look at his match history. You can do opponent race Zerg. Country South Korea. We can do offline if you want or online, but let's do both at first. So, alright. I Am Katowice was definitely not very kind to Yona. I want to say there's a decent amount of victories against Korean Zergis. The tournament that Serral won, by the way, 3-0 against Rogue, 2-0 against Dark. I think that's quite alright. So yeah, I feel like he does. It's just that he does not always win. And it's hard to always win. But I think he wins a very decent amount of the time. It's also like, obviously it's very painful for Yona that he lost to Solar at Gamers 8. But if tomorrow someone has too much money and says, I'm flying out Solar and Serral to play an offline best of 9 in this venue, 0 ping for both, $20,000 for the winner. And you guys can predict, and if you predict the winner correctly, you get a prize. I'm pretty certain that like 85 or 90% of the people is voting Serral to win. Like, sure, Serral lost to Solar, but the next time they play, do you guys expect Solar to just beat Serral again? Huh? Because I don't think even Solar thinks that's necessarily going to happen. It's just hard to always win, guys. StarCraft 2 is kind of a difficult game. I think that's why a lot of us like it. That's why a lot of us have been following it for a very long time. And even if you're as good as Yona, you cannot always win. Solar played out of his mind that series. I think Solar played good, and he came in with a strategy, and he came in with a plan. But I actually think that Serral made a couple of unforced errors. A lot more than Solar playing out of his mind. I felt there were a couple of unforced errors on the side of Serral. But you can look at it any way you want. For sure, Harfang. But then the good news is that Serral did have a very successful career. Like, it'd be incredibly frustrating for Serral if he never won a BlizzCon, if he never won Katowice, and then he's been that freaking strong this year and then it didn't work out. Of course it sucks and it's painful, but Serral has been on the other side of it and has won pretty much everything that he ever dreamed of winning. And to quote the wise man himself, after he lost to Sue in I Am Katowice 2019, you can't win them all. I would agree with you, Iba. But the other guy said, Solar played out of his mind. Sorry, I don't know why I'm not showing you guys. Alright, they have decided to revive Cure, guys. So this is very simple. There are 3 options. ABYDOS has decided to revive Cure. I'll give you guys a new prediction.
Killing spree.
Cure versus Serral. Killing spree. Cure 2-0. Serral 1-1. Serral 1-0. So the way that this works, I know this is very weird, but these are actually the 3 options. No. It looks a bit weird, guys, but this is correct. If Serral takes the 1-0 lead, it's over. If Cure takes the 1-0 lead, we're going to play a game 2. And then obviously the 2 outcomes are Cure 2-0 or Serral 1-1 Cure. So I hope this makes sense. First map is Altitude. Is it Altitude? Rough. Is it really Altitude? The man just casually picked Altitude, guys.
ABYDOS versus BASILISK Game 4， 就让比赛开始吧。
Hello, Juanito. Yeah, the year 0 game between Sue and Serral. Alright, the absolute last chance for these guys in the top right side. The runner-up of Game S8, winning $65,000 last week playing some StarCraft 2. It is our Korean Terran player, ABYDOS Cure. Why did you put Serral last? Because there's a couple options. I don't know. It was a weird prediction. I've never made that specific prediction, so I just winged it. In the bottom left side, guys, so far a perfect 6-0 in the WTL Code S playoffs, improving his overall record to 29-1. The great Jonas Sutala Serral. And it seems, guys, that the boys are leaving town. And now that 5-minute prediction could be a little bit too long. But it is what it is. Serral's Overlord is heading to the correct area, but he's not quite seeing it. And it's not just a 2 racks into a refinery, guys. It is proxy 3 racks here for Cure. And at this point, Yona is no different than Scotty from Eurotrip. He does not know. Now, I do expect Yona to figure out a little quicker than Scotty, but Altitude is a very long map. It takes a little while for the Overlord to make it to the other side of the map. This could work. This could definitely work for Cure. Gonna build a couple bunkers in the natural probably as well. So this is definitely not to be confused with the proxy 2 racks and a refinery at home. This is the first time that Serral is going to see it. I've been keeping an eye on his camera. There is no reaction. First bunker goes up. That Overlord could actually be in a bit of a pickle. First drone is trying to buy some time. Spinecrawler goes up in their face. I mean, against 2 racks, I would say that I believe in this. Against 3 racks, this can honestly get very, very dicey. I don't know if Serral can hold it like this. A long time ago, Mr. Bitter spoke the words, it's better to overreact than to underreact. Serral is living by that. He's pulling a lot of workers. Gets a surround on 1 Marine. Is it just a single Marine so far? Also prevents the bunker from finishing up. That is big. The SCVs there repairing each other for a split second. That's very cute. Serral does not want to see that bunker go up, but the bunker is up. The drones are falling, but the Marines are kind of falling as well. It really is all about that bunker against the spine. Serral is going to try to make it hard for the Marines to hop in. The Marines do hop in though. 4 Marines have a decent amount of DPS. More Marines being rallied into the natural. 15 SCVs against 14 drones, but not a single SCV is here to repair the bunker. And that obviously means that the bunker will fall. Starting to look pretty good for Serral as long as he doesn't lose that queen randomly. Like, the spine is low on HP. The Marine count can still go up. I want to believe that Serral is alright, but obviously if the spine crawler falls, then it can still get dicey. I think Cure maybe has lost just a few too many Marines so far. There are 2 extra queens on the way. Is there enough energy for a transfuse? Yes, there is. There is enough energy for a transfuse. The transfuse goes down immediately. Another Marine dies. Queen is low on HP. Marines want it, but I think we're bleeding out a few too many Marines, guys. I think we are looking at the first all kill in the WTL Code S playoffs. Serral's going to try to get a second spine. Cure does have a lot of SCVs at this point, by the way. Cure really wants... Okay. Cure really wants that spine. Cure is going to get that spine. But there is another spine going up. And 3 queens. Obviously, all 3 of them gathering energy as we speak. What is Cure going to do? He's going to drop ACC. Did he cancel the spine? Did Yona just cancel the spine crawler, guys? 13 drones, Cure is ahead. The thing is though, by the time that CC is done, obviously 23 SCVs is a very sexy amount. I think it's always kind of hard to really read this properly, because by the time that CC is done, Serral has had quite some time to drone. The 3 queens are out relatively early. Like, it's obviously more than playable for Cure, but I don't know if I would say that Cure is ahead. Serral is going to bleed out a few links. Serral's making a decent amount of extra links here. Circling speed 70-80% done. It's obviously always a little bit tricky as a Zerg, where you think like, alright, the marine stuff is over. They're expanding on the other side of the map. I saw that he's expanding with the Overlord. I believe that Serral confirmed that. But it doesn't mean that the Terran can't just produce even more marines. And 3 queens are good until the marine count is like 15 or 20, and then you're struggling a little. 30C has indeed gone down in the main base. Serral's bleeding out a few more links right before link speed. A little bit unfortunate there. Cure still a few workers ahead. Factory 25-30% done. So obviously the tempo is a bit different. Serral really wants to get us around on a couple of these marines, but reinforcements have shown up from the high ground. That was decent micro by Cure, where Special said earlier that he was very unimpressed by the micro of Cure. I don't know what server this is, they don't tell me that. Obviously between Korea and Europe they always alternate between US Central, US West, US Central, US West, where needless to say US West is better for the Koreans and US Central is better for the Europeans. Makes sense to revive Cure. He'd have to win against Reynor and Trigger too. Yeah, I think at this point you don't really have a choice. You gotta revive your strongest player. I still think the order of players that they send out is confusing, and maybe in hindsight it was not the right thing for them to do. But hey, we do not mind. I'm proud of Yona, even though we all know what Serral is capable of. It's like, it's impressive, but nobody is ultra surprised. Because it's like, you know that a guy like Serral can show up, especially in a format like this, and just kind of do it all by himself. He's also the one who stepped up to the plate. He said he wanted to start. Well, at first he was like, I guess I'll start. And then he hit us with the more I think about it, the more I want to start. And we're like, okay, let him cook. Because we all know if Yona is cooking, there are very few other outcomes then. Let him cook. Cure floating over the 3rd CC. 1-1 upgrades on the way. Stim and Combat Shield on the way as well. Serral's just running up at this point. That's what he told you, Reynor. He DM'd me and he said, Roddy, I'll kill. Tell Trigger you can sleep in. I was like, cool. Loving the confidence. It's like, tell the pizza boy that he can take the day off as well. I'll do it by myself. Might need you, Roddy, as an ace or a revive, but the other 2 boys, tell them to take the Sunday off. Obviously, I will not answer that handle. Cure threw down a scan in the center of the map, push back the creep a tiny bit. Serral at 65 drones. The upgrades obviously are going to favor Cure a little. But I think overall, if you look at this game, 8-9 minutes in, I don't think the people who said like Cure is ahead, I don't really feel Cure is like that far ahead. It's a very playable game for Cure, but it's also altitude, so it's really hard to capitalize on any sort of like little early game advantage. There isn't really that tempo or momentum that you can push non-stop. The map's just a little bit too big for that. Serral queuing up 12 more drones. Obviously, this is an army that he's going to have to respect. And this is also where Cure is going to work with an upgrade advantage for a little while, guys. 1-1 Marines. On the side of Cure with Stim and Combat Shield. against 0-0 Zerglings. At least Baneling's speed is close to finishing up. A very quick armory on the side of Cure, so these Widow Mines are already the permanently cloaked Widow Mines. GP scan goes down. Serral obviously needs to be very careful, taking some fights here. There's a few of the Widow Mines fire. It's nice that Serral already has an Overseer. So despite the fact that these Widow Mines are permanently cloaked, both of them fire, only get a couple of links. Serral picks them off. So far so good for Yona. Almost felt that he lost track of those medevacs there for a split second, but there are Banelings in the mix here. We are on creep as well. 4 drones fall. That's about everything that Cure can get here at the moment. Hydralisk then. It's going up in the bottom of one of these bases. Maybe the bottom right side and the 4th. Interesting location for a Hydra then. Cure's Widow Mine count is rising pretty rapidly. We even have a second factory, I believe, that has finished up. I don't know if we've got a tech lab on it. I don't know if he's going to go for drilling claws, but there is a second factory. There is the drilling claws upgrade, so that is exactly what it's going to be. Cure at this point just dancing on the edge of creep, pushing back the creep too much. Obviously does not want to make any mistakes. Knows that the marine count is what really matters here. A few of the Widow Mines fire. Honestly, not a single Widow Mine shot I think has really hurt Serral so far. We saw 5 or 6 Widow Mine fire, and I think the best they got was 3 or 4 Zerglings. Yona is close to being supply blocked, and that's why we got 6 Overlords on their way. He says, let me get rid of some of that supply and donate a few of my Banelings. But with donating, I mean take down a whole bunch of Marines. And that absolutely worked out. Cure is an amazing player, but I do feel that he misses a bit of the speed that a Clem can bring if Clem is really feeling it. Now, Cure obviously has great tactics, I think has great game understanding, has incredibly good tank positions and probably good Widow Mine positioning as well. But he does feel like, sometimes he's just a split second too late in some of these pickups. Definitely on top of his upgrades. +2 finishes up, fires up +3 immediately. So we are once more entering a hot minute or two on the side of Serral, where he's just going to be down in upgrades. And it's obviously hard to get great trades. Cure, his armor upgrade was a split second later. It's important that he doesn't forget about it forever. Once again, it's a little bit too late with the pickup there. And it's not like there are 3 or 4 fights happening at this point. Like, obviously there's always a whole bunch of stuff happening and we don't really know what the players look at. But a few times I gotta say I was a tiny bit surprised to see Banelings connect with the Marines the way they did. As Cure does find a couple of Hydras that they feel awfully slow on the left side. That's a good Widow Mine shot. A little bit of friendly fire. But at least a couple of Marines and a couple of Zerglings and Banelings went down. Maybe 1 or 2 Marines. Armor being queued up too at this point. Serral is maxed out on 81 drones. Cure has some of the rally points not quite set up yet of these barracks inside of his main. I don't know how big of a problem that really is, but yeah, Cure is definitely a bit older. He's amazing for his age, showing us all that it's not about being quick, but obviously being quick does help. Widow Mine deals a lot of friendly fire there, softens up these medevacs. Would have loved to see Cure maybe retarget that one. Does pay attention to where he unloads, and keep an eye on the minimap, guys. There is a big old Terran army in the bottom right side of the map as well, and this is where it gets hard for Serral. Serral is still down a little bit in upgrades. Does have +1 missile attacks now. Banelings kind of settling for Marauders, obviously reducing the Marauder count. Serral's done a great job at always having Overseers where he needs them. Because these games, they become very painful if you take fights and the Widow Mines fire, but you can't quite clean up the Widow Mines. I don't think there's been a single moment where Serral had the opportunity to clean up Widow Mines and he didn't. He's been everywhere he needs to be. Couple of Widow Mines firing at the Banelings. That's a big Widow Mine shot on a lot of Banelings. In the end, 1 or 2 Banelings still trying to make it to those Marines on the right side. More Banelings coming in from the bottom. Cure with by far and away the best Widow Mine connection of the game. And is he now able to capitalize on that? I'm starting to believe that the answer to the question is yes. There are still a few Banelings in the mix though. That makes it hard for Cure to just dive in on top of these Hydras. But definitely a very good fight for Cure. He now throws down a scan, finds a creep in the center of the map. Not sure if he knows about that gold base. A little bit of friendly fire there as Banelings do soften up a few of these units. More good Widowmine connections. And right when I said that Serral always had overseers when he needs them the most, what happens, guys? 30 seconds later, Serral does not have overseers to clean up some of these Widowmines, and that's just painful. Now there is one showing up with the main army, so that's obviously very important. Be able to clean up that one Widowmine on the left there. Serral's already cleaned it up. Fighting on the edge of creep is obviously always difficult. There is a Widowmine or two in the mix there. The first one is so-so. The second Widowmine shot seemed quite good for Cure. As the Baneling count, I believe, is pretty low at this point. And Serral's bank is running a little low as well. Cure taking excellent trades here, right on the edge of creep. And Yona once more, just like on Dragon Skills. Definitely looks like he's feeling the pressure. But just like on Dragon Skills, the man should not just give up without a fight. That one he was still able to turn around. That hatchery gets cancelled once more. The fact that Serral was able to cancel that is impressive to me. Feels that Iona is in a bit of trouble. Does get a little Ling wraparound. Can we drop a parasitic bomb? No, but we do kill the full medevac and land an abduct on another full medevac. So at the tail end of all of that, Serral kills 2 medevacs full of bio units. And that made all of this a little more acceptable. Whew. He got an empty one, but he also got 2 full ones. One with an abduct and one without an abduct. That's very big. Minus 20 supply there. Get over here. Serral turns into Scorpion. Wouldn't be cool if Serral had a Scorpion cosplay. Prepared for the WTL playoffs. He wins. He turns into Scorpion or Sub-Zero. I want to live in that world, guys. Banelings trying to connect with the Marines and Marauders, and the connections weren't all that bad. Widowmines got cleaned up. A few of the Widowmine shots were decent, but nothing was dramatic. There is a Liberator, though, getting a couple good shots off on drones in the bottom right side. I gotta say, the random lips by Cure, I feel that they've been pretty successful in these games. 6 drones and some lost mining time. That's painful if you're Serral and you're at 160 something supply. You're nowhere near maxed out, and you don't have any money in the bank. Ghost count is getting up there. Serral's making a few infestors. Does not seem ultra happy with the position that he currently finds himself in. It's a stressful game here, but obviously Yona has already done a 10 out of 10 job for us here today. And even if Serral loses this game, he will have another chance in closing it out. But obviously if at this point, being the first all-kill performer in the WTL playoffs, you want to be that guy. Serral's thrown down. Oh, he's morphing more Banelings. Thinks about going for it here. I thought that Cure had a pretty decent idea of where Serral's army was. He threw down the scan. A lot of Banelings are about to finish up. It's really cool how Serral kind of times this by sending in the first wave of Banelings. And then right when Cure thinks, okay, is this my moment? Nope. More Banelings finish up. And Serral is now mining again from that gold. Obviously, upgrades are a bit of an issue. And Serral cannot rely on big powerful units like Ultras or Lurkers. We don't have any of that. It's gonna be a very difficult minute or two for Yona. I do feel that Cure's army here, it feels a bit small. For a maxed out Terran, this is a very tiny army. Serral obviously can get a pretty decent fight here. It's a decent amount of the ghosts as well. Few ghosts getting picked up on the left side too. Honestly, it felt like we had more medevacs there on the side of Cure than battle units. For a maxed out Terran, that was very little firepower. Sure, there are 78 SCVs on the map, making 5 more as we speak. And like if Cure would have just lost a few Marines and Marauders there, that's obviously not too bad. But I actually felt he lost a whole bunch of ghosts. Earlier we looked at 5 or 6 ghosts, and those are nowhere to be found at this point. Lurker then is on the production tab. And don't forget that Serral is obviously going to be able to close that upgrade deficit in the near future, as +3 melee is somewhat close to finishing up. Has fired up +3 missile attacks as well, and already has +3 armor. Not a sexy split, by the way. Serral's making all of this stuff look easy, so it's almost like you don't want to hype it up, but it's kind of effortless on how good these splits are by Serral. I don't know if it's bad, Whistle Rumor, but it just makes it harder to close the game out. I think that's a better way of putting it. Someone in the chat letting us know that he thinks it's bad Cure is up 9 workers. It's not a bad thing. It just makes it a bit harder to close the game out. And slowly but steady, obviously Cure can start getting rid of some of these. But at this point, he's gathering a bank. He's still trading. And he's still adding on some extra infrastructure. With another armory, a couple of extra factories, a few extra command centers. So sure, if this game goes on for another 5-6 minutes, yeah, Cure absolutely needs to get rid of a couple of these SCVs. At this point, I don't think we're quite there yet, but we're closing in on that scenario. Cure throws down a scan at the 9 o'clock base. Sees that it's relatively naked. Sure, there are drones there, but there weren't really any units or static defenses or queens. I have not seen the units lost resource step in forever, so I have absolutely no idea about it. To me, it would feel that it's somewhat even, though. Like, Serral probably lost a little more, but I think nothing too dramatic. Maybe between like 5 and 10k more. I think that's about it. I'm sure we'll see it in the near future. Going up this ramp is a bit scary if you're a Zerg. You don't really know what's waiting for you. Serral's gonna go for it anyway. Has a lot of banelings. Has taken care of most of the Widowmice. There's a Widowmite there on the right side. Serral sees it. Will only lose a couple of Zerglings. And now the big question is, can Serral get the planetary? And the answer to that question is yes. Gets the PF. Gets 15 SCVs too. If I'm Cure right now, I'm not rebuilding those SCVs anymore. To go back to our previous point, a Sharking Infestor. And obviously it stays right outside of the scan radius. Serral's thinking about it, but I think he obviously needed some time. He's going to go for it anyway. Infestor will on Burrow. We're going to land a fungal on top of these goals. And the medevac. It's a picture perfect fungal parasitic bomb banelings. A 10 out of 10 play there by the MVP of the regular season as more SCVs get rallied into their death. Yona has definitely turned things around at this point for all the better. Maxed out, money in the bank, surrounding this planetary fortress as well. Banelings are going to blow up a few more SCVs. And Cure went from having a few too many SCVs to now perhaps having a few too little, as he has dropped to 42 SCVs. I think at all at this point he can really do is try to max out. Ghost count isn't really all that high anymore. Cure has lost a serious amount of ghosts already in this 22-minute game. Has to be 10 plus. Man, what a great first fight by Yona and an even better second fight. Having that Sharking Infestor around. Serral's even taking that base in range of the Sensor Tower of Cure. At the 3 o'clock position, asserting his dominance. Abduct is going to land on not one but 2 tanks. Banelings are going to crash into the Ghost. And this is no longer a planetary fortress, guys. This is just an orbital, and that obviously means that these SCVs are in a lot of trouble. I think Cure is kind of dead at this point. Serral had to work for it hard. He had to dig deep on dragon skills. He had to perhaps dig even deeper on altitude. But I think at this point, Cure, his facial expression kind of says it all. It's like, man, what do I do? What can I possibly do from this spot? And I think the answer is not a whole lot. Serral could make a whole bunch of lurkers if he wants to. But Serral is at this point, he's rich enough that he can honestly start taking very reckless fights, right? If he wants to move a bunch of Lings and Banes into a well-defended Cure, he can, even if he takes bad trades. Even bad trades are going to be good enough with the economic advantage he has with the massive bank that he has gathered too. Banelings trying to connect with Ghost one more time. A few tanks will fall. That's about it, guys, for Cure and ABYDOS here in the WTL Code S playoffs. The semifinals belong to one man and one man only. An all-kill. The first time we see that graphic this season. Serral goes 7-0 against ABYDOS. Cure looks like he's in a bit of disbelief. Was close on dragon skills. Was perhaps even closer on altitude. But Serral, with a couple of very sweet engagements and sweet plays, turns things around. And that means, guys, that we're in the grand finals. Basilisk makes it to the grand finals. And our journey and our dream of becoming a Royal Road team? Can we become Royal Roaders all together? There's obviously not a single Royal Roader, but we're Royal Roading all together. This train ain't stopping. From round 1 of WTL Code A to the grand finals of WTL Code S in our very first season. We'll take it, guys. We will take it. Choose prediction outcome. 80% of you guys believe that Serral was just going to take the 1-0 lead and all kill ABYDOS, and you guys were correct. Choose outcome. Bam. That is it. That means that now, guys, I'm going to have to do a little bit of captain duty.